Hi, I'm Tim with the Iola Register, and I'm here with Tricia. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
Thank you for being here. I know it's a really busy week. When is your next performance of True West? Tomorrow, right?
Yes, we have an understudy performance tomorrow. This is our very first time doing a full understudy show. So it's going to be all understudies, none of the main cast. They're all going to be performing.
Huh. Really? That's cool. It's the first time you've done that.
Yeah, first time we've ever done that. Yeah, we've had understudies before, but we've never done a performance entirely with the understudies.
I wanted to have you here today because Richard saw a performance of True West last week, and he came back and was just raving about it. And he was really, really impressed by the maturity of the actors, the quality of the performance, the challenge of the script. And so I kind of wanted to pick your brain about the performance and kind of what drew you to True West. So as the director, you're the director of the theater program, right?
Yes.
And so it's your call. You get to pick the show, right? You run the ship.
Well, at the end of the day, but I work with a team. We have a costume shop manager and a technical theater instructor, and we all collaborate together in choosing the season. But I guess at the end of the day, the buck stops with me.
So what drew you to True West?
Well, actually, this is our technical theater instructor's dream show. He's been wanting to do this show for years.
Who is that?
That is John Leahy. He's our technical theater instructor, which means he does our lights, set, sound. He runs our scene shop. And he also happens to be my husband. Yep. So I really like working with him.
I was going to put that in there. And he just started. Is this when did he start?
He started last October.
Okay, I was thinking it was either his first or his second year. So what makes this his dream production?
Well,
if you can speak for your husband.
I can a little bit because I've heard him speak about this show so much. He loves Sam Shepard. Sam Shepard is one of the greats of the modern American theater canon. And he just loves this play because it explores real Americana. There's a Western vibe to it, this neo-Western, similar to some of the newer neo-Westerns that are coming out, like Hell and High Water, that film, things like that. And he just loves what it explores and the design opportunities because we've built 2 full rooms of a house on stage. Wow. We have a kitchen and sort of a sunroom off of the kitchen that we've built. And the kitchen has lots of appliances that light up and do different things that you can see in the show.
And so he had to sell you on this, I imagine. I'm sure he kind of said, hey. So what drew or what stood out to you about True West or when you talk about the themes and what it explores, what kind of calls you to that script and made you want to choose it?
Yeah. So, he didn't have to sell me on it because I love the script too. I read Sam Shepard in college and fell in love with his work. It's gritty and it's complex and it's interesting. And the characters have all these things that are underneath the lines that make them so much more than even what's in the script. And so he's just fantastic. And I happened to see a production of True West at Steppenwolf where it premiered there when it first came out. It premiered at Steppenwolf in Chicago. But I saw a revival that one of my friends had worked on. He had been the costume designer for it. And I was just like, oh, True West still resonates today. It still has something to say to us. And so I was like, oh, okay, I want to do this play. And I want to do it bigger and funnier and darker than I've ever seen it done before.
When I think about what you're doing, you're working with young adults, and you've been in your role now, how long, 2 or 3 years?
This is my 4th year at Allen.
4th year? Okay. What have you learned from working with, they're not professional actors. You're not, off Broadway or on Broadway, but they're still, and in fact, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is you've got a really talented group of young kids. But I kind of wanted to know what you enjoy about working with that age, what some of the challenges are, and really what are some of the joys that you find in it?
I think it's mostly joy. We get these students, and we're a rural community, and a lot of art programs aren't as funded in high schools. But we're lucky in Iola that theater is booming. But some of the smaller towns around us, they don't have as many opportunities. So they come to me, they're fresh and they're excited, and they don't have any bad habits. They
Hmm.
all just are ready to learn,
Clay
and
that you can mold,
yeah,
right?
and they're just sort of figuring out how to be adults and how to go about living in the world. And they just are so open to new ideas and new experiences and to learning. And I love in particular community college because I feel like it takes away the barriers to the arts and to high quality arts education, and creates this sort of open door that says, come on in.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting time, I think, to be in the arts. In today's world, we talk a lot about AI. We talk a lot about technology. We talk a lot about even, STEM. And arts is kind of the ugly duckling, or
Sure.
maybe, ignored a little bit
Mhm.
as we think about the new economy, a global workforce. What are the arts? Why do they still matter today? What do they have to teach us beyond kind of those? Oh, okay, you can speak in front of public, and you learn how to be confident. But what's the case for the arts now in today's community college?
Well, the thing is that AI can never replace a live performance experience. It can't replace, like, you don't want to go to a concert and see an AI perform. So that special experience of sharing something with your community, with an audience. Studies have shown that your breath and heartbeats begin to align when you share a story together, when an
Mm.
audience experiences something together. And I'm like, isn't there something kind of magical about that you can't get anywhere else? And as far as the learning opportunities, lots of businesses, corporations, they love students who have studied theater in particular, because theater students, they know problem solving. They always meet deadlines because there's an audience waiting.
Right.
They work well with others. They collaborate. They're innovative. They're hardworking. They just have all the skills that are necessary in today's modern economy, really.
And just personally, I mean, I wonder if you can think about some kids who you've seen at the start of working with them, and then 2 years later, what kind of growth do you see in these kids?
Well, sometimes we see absolutely tremendous growth. I talked about the open door, and we really mean that we have an open door. We have students sometimes, especially our international students, that not only have never done theater before, but have never even seen a play.
Mm.
And they are like, I'm just excited. I've heard about it. I want to learn. And they leave here and they do a theater minor, or they feel like they have all these brand new skill sets. We're teaching things that they're not teaching anywhere else except for maybe CTE, some CTE programs. We're teaching people how to build. We're teaching people how to sew. We're teaching them all these skills that people think of as these dying skills, but we're teaching them in the theater
And
department.
how to build these worlds and
Yeah.
really step into someone else's skin and
Mhm.
interpret a character.
Mhm.
I can only imagine that, your ability to your empathy and your sympathy that you can have and be able to understand someone who's different from you.
Right.
That's a huge part of theater. And I
Yeah.
think it's, my exposure to it is much less than yours, but it's got to be fundamental, right? One of the things that you really work with your character, with your actors on, is what would this character be thinking and feeling?
Mhm.
How do you spur that along? I imagine some kids, they've been exposed to it, they've grown up to it, they've been in the bolus.
Mhm.
What are some of the ways you help people assume a role, step into a role, and really internalize it or embody it?
Well, we start every process with something called table work. We sit around a table and we talk about the themes. We talk about the characters. We talk about their backgrounds, their hopes, their dreams, what they might be wanting in each scene. We spend a lot of time, especially in a piece like True West that has so much to it and is such a mature piece, we spent a lot of time talking about who
That's
these
kind of
people are.
why I was wondering about it, because, for a 19-year-old to take on such a complicated damage, I mean, these are multifaceted people that they're stepping into. It's not just like, oh, I'm Fiona from Shrek. I saw Shrek. It's a beautiful performance.
Yeah, it's great.
There's more to it, right?
Yes, and that's really our goal. We feel like the high school and the community theater, they're doing those wonderful crowd pleasers, and so we want to offer something different. They're already doing that the best in town. So what can we offer that's a little bit different than that? Which is more of the grittier, more of the obscure, something that you're not as likely to see in our community.
Sure. Kind of like an independent film as opposed to a blockbuster.
Exactly.
And that kind of leads into a question that I had for you. Stepping away from True West and just kind of looking back at the theater program at the college. I remember when I was a kid, the piazzas, and the theater program was robust and it was dynamic. And now it feels like we're kind of coming into this another Renaissance period, and I feel like there's a lot of energy and passion and talent. And so I kind of wanted to ask you, what are you trying to build out there? What are your hopes for this program? And what do you have your sights set on?
Yeah, so I'm an Allen alum too, so I learned from the Piazzas, and they had such a strong foundation, particularly in acting. They're strong actors, and they were strong directors, and they were really good at that actor training. Our specialty, although we do have some good background in acting, is we've got a lot more of the tech. I specialize in wigs and makeup and costumes. We have a new technical theater instructor that specializes in the other areas of light, set, and sound. And we're really bringing that high quality production element. And the fact of the matter is that there are jobs in that. There are so many jobs in the tech side of the entertainment industry, because think about every concert, every conference, every convention that you go to, those are people working those lights and sound and all of those things. So it's not just theater, and it translates to film as well. We've added a film component. We already had a film class, but we wanted to expand the film component of the program and do films regularly, and adding in other types of digital content such as trailers and things like that, because we want to really bring this into today, into something that can translate into a lot of different fields.
That digital production, that whole field.
Yes.
So let's flash forward to 5 years from now, or fast forward, and where do you imagine your program? How do you imagine it stayed the same? How do you imagine it's grown or changed?
Well, I'm a fairly ambitious person, so I imagine that we are the best arts entertainment program in the state. Doesn't matter community college or 4-year or anything, that we're the best. That's what I want.
Yeah, ambitious. Yeah. How are you going to get there? What are some of the steps or projects that you've got? I imagine you got stuff in the queue that's kind of making that happen.
We're already well on our way. Just getting our name out there for one, but we have competed in the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival, and we are racking up awards every time we compete. We won more awards per show than KU already. So the quality of our work is already there. And so it's just about getting the word out. And we've started a high school theater initiative where every person that's a high school student in the state of Kansas can come to any of our shows for free. We want young people to see our shows and really know that there is vibrant theater and film training that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, that is really accessible to them.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think we ran, I remember you reached out to us after one of those competitions, or, where you guys came back and it was very, very successful. How do we, or how do you understand your job in this community? You mentioned it a little bit. We've got the high school theater program. We've got the Iola Community Theater. We have the Bolus Fine Arts Center, and so, I mean, how, as we look at the community, can we kind of support your work, or how do you kind of understand your job? I don't imagine you see yourself on an island, I guess is kind of what I'm thinking of.
No, not at all. I love working with the Bolus, especially now with Mandy as executive director. She has created so many opportunities for my students. We've had 2 students work backstage on one of their shows when they needed to do overhire. And that's professional experience that our students are getting before they even graduate.
Wow. So those are the shows that the Bolus, as part of their season, your students are working on those.
Yes.
Well, that's really cool.
What a fantastic opportunity, right? And we are partnering with the community theater for their 60th season. We're doing Our Town together this spring. So
cool.
Yeah, so I love work. I feel like Iola has such a vibrant arts community that just needs to be invested in more,
Yeah.
There's already so many good things going on. We just need to get people out there and get them excited.
Yeah, it's I just think there's a lot of opportunities for the arts. In your work here, what have you learned about yourself as your 4 years in this position? Has anything surprised you about how you've changed and grown as you adapt to the role?
Yes. I think the exponential growth has been a big thing. So some things that worked when we had 8 students, which is how many we had when I started, don't work now that we have 25 to 30. Right. But still, it's so important to maintain that individual attention to each student so they feel like they're getting that customized training, because that's part of the thing that we tell students when they're considering here. So really, how do I scale up those talks? You know what I mean? How do I scale up making sure that everybody is getting exactly what they want out of their experience at Allen? But just, I guess personally about myself, I really learned how much I love teaching and how much I love making art for a rural community. I worked at the Guthrie Theater in Minneapolis. I still work at American Players Theater in Wisconsin. I've worked at some very high levels of professional theater. And there is something so special about bringing that quality of art to a rural community, because I grew up in Pleasanton, Kansas, and I had 21 kids in my graduating class. And I was like, where can I see theater that isn't expensive or doesn't mean a 2-hour drive or something like that? And I get to be the thing that I wanted when I was a kid.
You think there's a real vacuum, a void, right? Just in these rural communities, this idea of art for everyone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a powerful mission.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You feel supported in your role at Allen? You feel like that you see, or that administration and your bosses, do they see eye to eye with you on that?
Definitely. I feel very, very supported by our admin and our board of trustees. When our part-time scene shop manager left, I said, really, with the way we're growing, this is a full-time position now. And they were like, okay, we see that. We see that growth. We see all the awards. And we say, okay, we're willing to invest in this. And they continue to think of ways to invest in our program. I feel very, very fortunate.
One of the things that I want to question you on, or I guess just push back a little bit.
Sure.
So there's a lot of talk when I'm hearing you about like the economical sides, the job skills. There's also this argument that I hear sometimes that art for art's sake, right? And so I wonder, taking away the idea that, yes, these will translate to jobs, which I'm not saying they shouldn't. They totally should. We need our community graduates, community college graduates to be employed and to be competitive in the market. I'm just wondering whether you feel any tug or, push and pull between the idea of producing job-ready graduates and this idea of this is art and it just needs to be for art's sake. And I wonder how you kind of balance those in your life and just in your mission, your identity, I think, just whether that's a tension that you feel.
Well, I would say that I sort of have to think about that balance because about half of our students that we get that are on scholarship or participating in our program are majors, and the other half aren't. So they're here sometimes just for the money of the scholarship, but a lot of times they're just here because they love theater. They love to do it, and they're like, oh, I did want to still do that while in college. So it's more fun for them, right? And so I really do believe that there is a great satisfaction that comes from working hard and making something that you didn't know you could do. So I don't know that those two things are separate, that we can be training people at a rigorous level so that they can be professionals. And then the people that love it get to go, I didn't even know that I could love building a set, or I didn't even know that I could do that thing that I'm doing right now, which is maybe like doing specialty makeup or sewing a costume. I think there's something exciting about learning that it doesn't really matter if you want to do it as your career. I think we as humans have an innate desire to be creative in some way, shape, or form. And so it sort of is that solution. Theater can be that solution.
That's a really interesting point. And not viewing them as things that are in tension with each other, but as two parts of the same process, this idea of creating. As we think more about, I want to go back to AI because it's just been on my mind a lot lately. What do we lose, or what do we stand to lose? I know you're saying here humans are innately creative. We're outsourcing a lot of that creativity now. We're having, I'm sure you've had students say, I'll just have ChatGPT write my personal essay. I'll just have it write my essay for history class. I'll just have it apply for this job for me. And a lot of the work that we used to spend time on creatively, I'm wondering what we stand to lose by seeding that creative impulse, or what you see as the stakes of the game. What if we just let machines do everything for us and make our art and our music and our books? How poor would we be, and how do you kind of see that going for us?
Yeah,
kind of a dark question, but it's just something that's been on my mind a little bit.
I think I mean, in my opinion, art is such a big part of what makes us human. The ancient peoples, as soon as they could survive for any length of time, started making tiny sculptures, started telling stories. And so I think it's so ingrained in our humanity.
You think we'll be doing it in the future too? You think the arts will always be with us?
I think they have to be. I think as far as AI goes, don't we want machines to do our laundry, not make our art? You know what I mean? We want machines to do the stuff that's not so fun, not the stuff that brings us incredible joy. The stuff that we can like sit up after doing it and go, oh my gosh, 3 hours passed by and I didn't even notice because I just got so immersed in it. Right. Yeah, I don't feel that way while doing the dishes. I don't mind if a machine does that.
No, that's a good point. I think sometimes, have you seen the movie WALL-E?
Yeah.
I kind of think about that future where we're all just having machines drive us around with big screens in front of our faces, waiting to be entertained. But that idea of, being the protagonist in that process, creating the art, writing the poem, designing the set, that seems to be what you see as a fundamental part of who we are. And you feel confident that that's going to we'll walk into the future with that. It'll be part of us.
I think we need it. I think if we felt like technology could replace all of our entertainment, we would have all been super happy during the pandemic. just sitting in front of our screens.
Right.
But we weren't. We wanted to go out and be with people and go to live concerts, and we wanted to do it still. So we had an opportunity to go, oh, what it would be like if I could just watch Netflix all day, and we didn't like it that much.
Yeah. No, I remember. You're right. No, thank you. I really appreciate your perspectives on this. I wanted the last question to ask is when you look at recruiting, if somebody's interested in learning more about your program or just seeing what this looks like, how do you, what should they do? What if a young kid is saying, I'm interested, I might be, is this for me? What do you kind of recommend?
Well, there's a bunch of ways. You can schedule a campus tour and meet with us in person. You can apply for our scholarship on our website. You can come to one of our shows, and I am happy to talk with any young person before or after a show and talk to them about our program. I think that seeing our shows is really what will get you excited to be part of Allen Theater and Film. But we also go out to various local performances and speak to students. So there are lots of ways to get in touch with us, and we don't necessarily require an audition, but we do like to have seen some level of work before we bring somebody in. But if somebody is like, you know what, I'm actually really passionate about this, and they have like a great recommendation from a teacher, I will go, okay, I'll take a chance on this person, because
and you'll take
that
somebody
open door.
with no experience.
With no experience. I've done it before. Right now we have a superstar student from Ghana who had never even seen a play, and now he's one of our best students. He's a real leader in our program.
And twice now you've mentioned scholarships. I think most people, when they think of scholarships, they think of either like the 4.0, 36 ACT student, or the athletic scholarship. So there are scholarships for theater.
Yes, and our scholarships are fantastic. They cover tuition and book rental up to 15 credit hours. So they are one of the highest scholarships that Allen offers. Wow. And they're just, you can basically go to school without hardly having to pay for anything. And you get to do the most fun thing ever, which is theater.
Well, thank you so much for all of your work, your passion, your perspectives. And Break a Leg this week. I'm thinking of you guys, wishing you the best.
Thank you.